Hi guys, I'm Kenya and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So if I look a little hot, it's 96 degrees outside. Enough about me. I want to talk about a show that I saw on Netflix, well actually a movie on Netflix. I'm not sure if it's going to be like a two-part series. It was called Black and Privilege Volume 1. Now I initially put it on, just to have something to do while I was editing my thumbnail for my YouTube video, and I was like, hey, it'll just be background noise. But like the first 5 minutes had me like, wait, hold on. And literally I grabbed my notebook and started jotting down notes because I was like, I have to talk about this on my YouTube channel because it was very much real estate related. So there's going to be hella spoilers. I'm gonna warn you right now. So if you haven't seen it and you want to see it and you don't want me to spoil it for you, click out of the video, go watch it, then come back and hear what I have to say.
In this video, I will be giving you my breakdown and thoughts on the Netflix series / movie Black and Privilege. And also, throughout this video, I keep referring to the character Eldon as Eli. I don't know why I wanted to call Eldon Eli so badly. So when I say Eli, I really mean Eldon, okay? Toodles.
Basically, the show was centered around two black men who were friends, Samad and Eli, and they were from Chicago. They lived in the inner city. They grew up poor from, the dialogue throughout the movie. I'm assuming that they grew up poor. One is a real estate developer, and the other one, Samad, I believe, was like the real estate developer, or he did a lot of buying of properties and renovating them and building them up. And Eli was like the restaurateur. Him and his wife owned a restaurant, like a cafe. They owned about 5 cafes, I want to say, in the Chicago suburb. So Samad comes in with a newspaper and he goes, hey Eli, have you read this? And he was like, let me see. So he looks at the newspaper and he was like, oh, they're tearing down the last housing projects up in Chicago. And so Samad was like, well, that ain't good. So, Eli's like, that's good. So Samad was like, that ain't good, because when they tear those housing projects down, all those people going to do is they're going to start traveling into the nearby suburbs. They're going to be coming into our community, and we don't want that. And that's when I said, hold up. Because I like have Netflix on my phone while I'm using like my iMac. And so I'm like going back and forth looking. I said, wait, hold up. I said, let me pause. Let me finish editing this thumbnail so I can put it on the whole computer screen so I can get into it. Because this is what I talk about all the time. Like, this is my judge, the housing market, real estate, gentrification. Like, this is what I am always talking about. Usually it's like white people talking about black people living in their neighborhoods, but now this is the case of when black people, upper black people, move up in society. Now they're like, they don't want, the degenerates or low-hanging fruit, from the projects moving into their neighborhood, because then they started talking about how I was going to start bringing up the property values down, the housing values down, how the neighborhood is going to start getting all jacked up. Normal stuff that we normally hear our white counterparts saying about black people moving into their neighborhood. Now it's, to me, I found it so interesting that these are, black people, of a certain stature talking about they don't want their other black people from the same neighborhood that they're from to move into their neighborhood, because it's just gonna mess it all up for them. They like it how it is now. So then they mentioned, redlining was a subject that was brought up early on in the movie, which was a practice where people weren't allowed to get home loans for certain areas, or if they were, the interest rates were astronomical. It also spoke about block busting, which is steering people to a certain neighborhood to live. And so while Eli and Samad are having these conversations about how the neighborhood is about to go to shits, they notice a young couple moving in across from them. So, they're looking like, it's about to be some ish. The husband is saying. So the wife was like, oh, give him a chance. So then they flash over to a neighbor, and the neighbor was like, listen, I don't have a problem with poor people. I have a problem with the poor ass mentality of people who don't want to do better for themselves. And I was like, yes, I felt them, because I don't have a problem with poor people per se. It's just poor ass mentality. That's the thing. And then I swear to goodness, every last black stereotype you could think of, like, they crammed it into like 10 minutes of this like movie. I had to write some of this stuff down so I don't forget. But then they flash back to Samad and his wife at home or whatever. And so they looking through the window, because we all know, that's why my blinds was messed up. I see me looking through the window like, what's going on out there? I can relate to clicking those blinds down and looking out the window. So the wife was like, oh no, do you know it's a man in the middle of the street? They out there drinking 40s, playing dice. When I tell you every black stereotype you could think of. And then she was like, and then he just lit it. He just threw a piece of watermelon in the middle of the street. I'm sitting on my computer like, really, dog? Watermelon? Like, the writers couldn't have thought of nothing else less stereotypical than watermelon for this man to have littered in the middle of the street. I was like, these writers better be black. They best to be black, right? You know, the scenes flash back and forth, and then the wife is back in the window, and she's like, oh no, there's a girl sitting on a front porch getting her hair braided. And I had to laugh, because that's just a way, like, my thing is this, it's just how you are brought up. You know, when people live in like housing projects, there is no backyard. Like me growing up, I lived in a 5-bedroom, 2-bathroom house. We had the patio, we had a nice backyard, we had a driveway, we had a garage. So anytime we wanted to do something, you know, in my neighborhood, us as kids, we either were in the living room of our house, or we were in the backyard. That was our place to chill. There was no need to sit on our porch, even though we had a nice porch, because we sat in the backyard. That's the way we were raised. But if you live in a housing project, you don't have a backyard. And so it's like, now you're living in a house. It's like a new concept, I would say. So it's like, okay, she's sitting on the porch braiding her hair in the front. And even like when I used to date this dude in the Bronx, and I swear it's nothing but like buildings. Like he lived in the South Bronx, I want to say around Jerome Avenue, and you would literally walk up the street and see people outside in front of their buildings barbecue. Now I just wonder where they used to keep their grills, because it's an apartment. But anywho, that's besides the point. So, you know, there's really no like backyard, you know, of those buildings, because these are like older buildings built before, you know, like pre-war buildings, which are buildings built before World War II. So they weren't really built with the backyard. So they barbecue in the front of the buildings or whatever. But the wife was appalled, like, oh my gosh, like they sitting on a porch braiding hair, and like, and then she goes, that is so ghetto. Yo, and literally when she said that, I was sitting on my computer, I literally laughed just like that. I was like, really, dog? Like, have I ever got my hair braided in the front of the, I can't ever recall getting my hair braided on the porch. So then Samad and Eli, the friends, they gathered together at Eli's cafe, you know, to commiserate on this new development that's happening. And so Samad was talking about how his neighbors was blasting music all night. They all up in the middle of the street, you know, doing the most. And Eli was like, yo, my neighbors was barbecuing all night. He was like, oh, but that food smelled good. Like his brain, he was like, yo, that junk was thumping. It smelled good though, like. And I was like, you know, it was like, you know, a cute little show, whatever. The writing was pretty cool. Besides that 10 minutes of all the stereotypical stuff that they crammed into that 10 minutes. Like everything you could think of that was stereotypical about black people that are poor. Like it was like 10 minutes of it, like back to back to back. And I was like literally sitting on my computer like, really, dog? Like word? And I just like jotted down a few of these things that they said so I could repeat it to you guys. Then Samad had this great idea. We're going to have a community meeting. Maybe we could have it at Eli's cafe or whatever. And so he's handing out flyers in the community. Hey, you know, my name is Samad. Come out to the community meeting. And so he's talking to the neighbor across the street, to the lady. And then she took the flyer, like, because you know, when you from the hood, you know what I'm saying, you don't really talk to people like this. So she took the flyer from him like, thank you, and was keeping it moving. And then she had her daughter with her. So the little girl was like, hey. And he was like, how you doing, little girl? And the mother was like, we don't play that. Like, basically, don't talk to my daughter. And she just stormed off. And so Samad was walking with his wife at the time as well. They looked at each other like, well, damn. So they had the little community meeting at the cafe. Not a lot of people showed up. And then there was this one girl who showed up. She was like, we're not bad people. Just give us a chance or whatever. And so I said, okay. It was like a lot of points being thrown back and forth in the movie about how poor black people have this stereotype that they're just so bad. And, you know, this girl is just like, you know, we're not bad people. Like, just our circumstances just sometimes force us to behave and do things and act in ways that it's not necessarily, you know, the business or whatever. So then she starts talking about how in their housing projects, they were doing gardening on their property. They were like, you know, getting like tomatoes, growing corn, cucumbers, watermelon, everything you could think of, because it's organic and it's better to just grow it in your own community. That way they could share it with everybody and it'll all be good. So Samara was like, yo, that's a good idea that, you know, y'all are gardening. And she's like, maybe it's something we could bring to this community. Maybe it's something we could teach y'all, you know, to do.
And again, another teachable moment. Just because the people are from the projects and they are moving into their community, they might not have anything monetary to add as far as money to better the community, but they did have their skills as, you know, novice or amateur farmers, and they had knowledge and, you know, ways to grow organic, you know, vegetables and keep the money in their own community.
And it was like, that's a good idea or whatever. So then one person in the room, it's always that one person was like, well, y'all be growing, do y'all just grow plants? Y'all grow like cannabis or anything like that? Trying to insinuate that she was probably growing something other than vegetable, like just stereotyping a girl. She was like, no. She was like, basically her and her husband works a lot and he's always away.
I like how they snuck in the fact that her husband works a lot, because there's this misconception that people who live in public housing are lazy, they don't work, they live off the government. And the fact that she said her husband works a lot and he's always away was just a way to let, you know, the masses know black men do be working.
But, you know, they grow plants, and then they were like, you know, maybe, you know, they told one of the black men that owned a store, you know, maybe you could, you know, take the produce from the garden and you could sell it in your store, and that is more money circulating throughout the black community or whatever. So she has some really good ideas, you know, and they were like sort of like acting like they were surprised that someone that is from these housing projects would, you know, be into gardening and be down with, you know, giving back to the black community and have money circulate, you know, through the black community before it goes out the black community, you know. And another good point, so Samad, like I said, he and his wife were into real estate or whatever, and there was another man in the community, a white man, who was also into real estate and like development, and he was bidding on properties and things like that. And so the man who lived across the street from him was his son. So he's white, his son is black, had a black wife, black daughter, and his mother, you know, obviously was black. And the boy who lived across the street, his mother actually died of a horrific accident, they said. So meanwhile, they're stereotyping these people, thinking like, oh, they're moving into our neighborhoods, probably on government assistance. But his dad actually bought him that house in that neighborhood, you know, to live in, because his dad was a real estate developer. Somehow his dad got it. Well, it was insinuated throughout this movie that his dad had his wife killed. They never really said why. I don't know if I missed the point, but I was literally really trying to figure out like why his dad would have his wife killed. Maybe because the community was a fairly safe community, no crime happened, nothing happened. Maybe he wanted people to start to want to move out so he could buy a property. I have no clue, but they never really delved into why his father had his wife killed. And so I'm not sure if that was the writer's way of letting us know, like, this real estate market is dirty, it's grimy, it's trifling, and it really is from what I had learned. So he was basically trying to, the crooked developers trying to like bid on all these properties to buy and redevelop, and Samad wanted to do the same thing and, you know, rebuild up the city. I'm not sure if they were buying properties in the inner city of Chicago or in their suburbs that they lived in, because they never, I don't feel like they specified that throughout the movie. But anyway, so his wife was murdered in the house. Then it's crazy, Samad, Eli, and their wives decided it was time for some street justice. They found one of the men who was responsible for it and they killed him. These uppity people who were like, oh my gosh, like they're moving into our neighborhood, because the man who moved in across the street, I can't remember what his name was. I want to say it was Jay. Was it Jay? He was really hurt, and his daughter, he asked if his daughter could stay at the house with Samad and his wife because he had to take care of something, and his daughter was like, my dad really loved my mom and he's gonna get those guys. So I guess to keep the father from being in jail and getting in trouble, they found this man and killed him. Next thing you know, Eli, who owned the restaurant, somebody killed his wife. I guess they knew that they did it, and so Eli's all broken up. Now he wants to sell his restaurants or whatever. So as I sit here and think about the character Jay, who lived across the street from Samad and his wife, I mentioned that his father was a crooked developer, and I mentioned that Jay's mother was killed in a tragic accident, and Jay was raised by his grandma, you know, with his father's financial help. And the more I think about it, I feel like his dad might have had his mother killed, because his dad was married to another black woman, and she, you know, from the scenes that they showed her, and she seemed a little ruthless, like she was down for anything. So I don't know if she died of a freak accident. So hopefully in volume 2, because this was volume 1, when that comes out, it'll reveal all the questions I have now for volume 1. The movie went off and I was like, well, what about, like, what? There was also another scene with the black girl who was at the community meeting, who told them about gardening and saying that they're not bad people, give them a chance. She went over to like this Arab restaurant because she wanted a gyro, and when she went in there, the man was rude as heck. Like the boy at the counter was super rude to her, and so she was like, yo, stop being rude. And she was like, before I get my man to come up in here and jack you up. And he was like, go get that N-word, just like that. And I guess the writer was trying to let us know how, you know, bring to the attention of how, you know, people who are not black always feel like they could use the N-word. And then he started saying some other like racial stuff, like kafir or whatever, in the movie as well. And I don't feel like anybody should be using the N-word, but the crazy part is other races who want to use it so bad. Like I've never in my life so badly wanted to use a racial slur, you know, to insult somebody. Like every race has a racial slur. I've never in my mind thought of a racial slur and think I'm gonna say that to that person. Like it's just never been in me to want to do that. Like I don't understand what it is about non-black people who always want to use the N-word. Like why? Like that's an oppressive word, and if you're using the N-word and you call people the N-word, you deserve the violence that you get. I'm sorry, it is what it is. So meanwhile, 2 black men are in the background just dying and laughing at this man disrespecting this black woman. So she turns around to them and she's like, oh, so y'all just gonna let him disrespect me? Ain't nobody gonna say nothing? And then the boy behind the counter, the Middle Eastern guy, was like, oh, those my N-words too. And they laughing and going along with him. And that just goes, you know, brought to the light about how black women are disrespected, and a lot of times black men stand around and let it happen. A lot of times when you see black women being disrespected, a black man is behind the camera talking hella ish about it. He ain't intervening, he ain't saying stop, he ain't stepping in. He behind the counter, he behind the camera, instigating the whole thing. And so these black men were in the background of the restaurant just instigating it. They laughing, they hollering, they kikiing. And she's like, I can guarantee you, you would never be able to disrespect their women, which is true. So she goes over to Samad and Eli and tells them like, yo, I had a craving for a gyro. I went to the restaurant and he was disrespectful. So they went up in that restaurant. It was like a whole group of men ended up in that restaurant. Y'all, they beat that Middle Eastern boy down, threw him out head first, like Uncle Phil used to do Jazz on the Fresh Prince. He was all scraped up and scratched up. Like, they put a stop to that. And that's what, you know, we deal with in our black neighborhoods. You know, every other corner it's an Arab liquor store or Indian liquor store, a Pakistani liquor store. You know what I'm saying? They own all the little candy shops, the bodegas. Like, it's nothing that's really black owned. We go into these businesses and we spend our money only to be disrespected. So that was like, you know, some good valid points that was brought out into the movie. And you know, it's time, you know, as black people, we shouldn't spend our money. We should, you know, spend our money on black businesses. And they telling her like, yo, that's the problem. Why would you even go over to there and buy a gyro? Go to a black owned business. And she was like, yeah, I know, I was craving it or whatever. So she was like, I ain't telling y'all to go over there and beat him up or nothing. I'm just telling y'all what happened. So anyway, they went over there, told him he needed to stop. He was talking massive smack. They started banging him up, threw him outside at a restaurant, jacked him all the way up, which I feel like it's not wrong. I feel like when people come into our neighborhoods, they making money off of us and then disrespect us, like I've seen it happen plenty of times. I don't necessarily remember ever going into a store and being blatantly disrespected, I would say. Maybe I have. I feel like I have. And I feel like I just never returned to that store again, because if you are rude to me, I'm never going back to your place of business. Like, you'll never see me again. And so that was like some, you know, themes or some points, or however you want to call it, a theme or a point that was brought out in the movie about how, you know, we need to stop supporting businesses, you know, of other races when they don't even respect us. And just to bring light to how black men, they never like step up or, you know, say hey. They just laugh along with it most of the time. And so then the dude, I think he said his dad was like from Iraq or something like that. At the end, he ended up going to the real estate developer, confronting him like, hey, they came over to my restaurant and they beat me up, we gotta do something about it. And the developer was like, listen, I ain't a gangster, I'm a real estate agent, like what you telling me for or whatever. So then it switches back to the scene of Eli and Samad at the restaurant, and you know, at the cafe. It was a cafe technically. The Iraqi dude who was disrespectful came up in the restaurant, was like, oh, now he want to be down. I guess they say if you can't beat him, join him. And he want to be nice and he want to play friendly because they ran up on him. You know what I'm saying? So now he trying to make peace with them, and that's where the episode ended. But I don't know, if you are someone like me and you are someone who is, you know, advocates affordable housing for all citizens. You know, there are a lot of homeless vets out here. You know, people who have worked 30 years of their lives, got laid off and are now homeless. People who actually paid taxes, you know, who can't catch a break, who can't get back on their feet. You know, get into that, you know, anything that has to, and anything that just has to do with the black community, you know, you pro-black and all of that stuff. I feel like this would be a movie for you. This would be something that you would enjoy watching. And yeah, I enjoyed it. There was some parts in it where I was like, really, dog, like really? But I will be waiting for volume 2 to hit Netflix, and I will give you my opinion on that one too. So the name of this Netflix series, again, well, it's in my title, of course, it is Black and Privilege, which is, it embodies, like the title says, the black and the privileged, and your thoughts on those who are poor or working class. Working class is basically still poor. People who are from the inner city, the projects, you know, the ghetto or the hood or whatever word you want to use for it. And how when those two worlds collide, the inner city and the upper middle class, how that works out, and just different things that Black people, Black women especially, go through in our everyday lives with being disrespected and, you know, things of that nature. You know, just how corrupt and ruthless the real estate market could be as well, with developers having, you know, having these bidding wars on different properties, buying up different areas. Another point that was brought up in the movie was how they mentioned how there is a church on every corner in the hood, but they don't halfway help out the community. When you need something from the church, they're not even there for you to help you, but they pressure you every Sunday into tithing and giving your money to them. So that was another good point about the Black church. And I feel like a lot of people in my age group, I'm a millennial, we don't even go to church anymore. Like, I don't even attend church anymore because I feel like church is more of a business than a place that could save my soul. You know, you can get your church from home. And there's some other things I'm probably leaving out that I need to tell y'all about. But so yeah, at this point I'm just rambling. And so if you made it this far into my video, I want to thank you for coming to kick with me today, and I'm gonna see you guys in my next YouTube video. Toodles.
How you living? What? And live in color. You can't do what you